Hi, everybody. I have a very short video for you to go over the basics of compositional guidelines or principles. Just a few things to help you organize your pictures or your drawings on your paper. So these things are the terms picture frame, picture plane, open versus closed compositions, figure ground relationship and ratio within the picture frame, and the rule of thirds. And so I'll sit down here and show you what I've done. I've got three different compositions that I just drew, and I'll go over the strengths and weaknesses of each and talk about them. This is the still life that I've been drawing from, and I've turned it around for each different composition to get a better vantage point for each one. And so let me make sure you can see this. Put this down. Let it get focused. Okay. All right. So the terms picture frame and picture plane, if you have never heard them before, identify the picture plane is the edges around the picture. This is the paper generally is your picture frame. Sometimes people will draw a border within their paper or several lines of a border, and that's the picture frame. So it's the outer edges or outer reaches. Sometimes you'll see painters or designers working in making designs within circles. That becomes their picture frame. Or some artists get crazy and work with odd shaped picture frames, something like that maybe. How do you work a composition in there? Well, it's all interesting. They'll have their own different problems. But so the picture frame is the confines or borders that you're working on. The picture plane is the surface. It is a matter of fact that a blank piece of paper has a flat picture plane. And when I draw into it, I can either reinforce the flatness of the picture plane. And if you think of a flat red area in a painting, that is a flat, it's reinforcing the flat versus creating the illusion of the depth of space within the picture plane, or breaking, it's called breaking the plane, giving the illusion of space. And these two drawings do that best here because of the perspective devices that are used. You can also use overlapping or chiaroscuro or light and shadow to create the illusion of depth. But it is an illusion of depth that's breaking the plane. Okay, so those are those terms. Within that picture plane, you can create either compositions that are closed or open. This is I'm gonna write it down here, closed composition. That means that all of the objects are contained within that frame. Nothing's breaking out. This is an open composition. The composition is like a snapshot. There are the idea that these things go beyond that space, so it is opening to an external environment. This is sort of a hybrid of the two, this composition right here. It is open on these two edges and closed on these two edges. And you'll see this sometimes with artwork that utilizes this technique to create a specific kind of tension and placement. So that is open, closed, and I'll put this as hybrid. I like that word right now. Figure ground ratio. So this is where you need, as an artist and designer, to be sensitive to the relationship between the figure, in this case it's the objects, it could be a human figure, and the ground or the background. And if I have too much space around a figure, the way that I stated that, it makes it bad already. But if I have a lot of space around a figure, Say, for example, this picture frame is way out here, right? Let me eliminate this real quick so you can see. Whoa, my tape is giving away. Okay, so if my picture frame is way out here and I have this group of objects right here, make that a little clearer. This drawing becomes dominated by the space around the still life. And if that's the case, in order to make this a successful drawing or painting or design, I need to make that space visually interesting. I've got to put a gradient, a color, a hatching and cross hatching back there. I need to activate that space somehow, because now there's more of it than the ground. And so what I'm telling the viewer is that you need to pay attention to that space. And if I don't do anything to it, then it just lays there and is inactive and weakens the whole visual image. All right. So I have two choices. Either I can crop this back down, which I'll do, to here, and you can see that visually working better now. And by working, I mean there's more movement and cohesion in the whole of this composition by replacing this picture frame back down like that. So that's the figure ground ratio. It's very important for design, for portrait drawing, for still life drawing, and all of that. To get this ratio right and executed like you mean to. The rule of thirds. This is a trick that photographers use a lot, and we'll discuss in photography a lot. But I like to use it as a guideline for composition. In a camera, let me put a camera lens right here. Say we're looking through a good camera lens, you'll see these little hatch marks like that. And those are there to remind you as a photographer not to put your main subject matter always in the middle, because that creates undynamic, unless you're very specific about what you're doing, and stifled composition. So you want to, if we tic-tac-toe this should be about a third, a third, a third, a third, a third, a third. You want your areas of emphasis off out here and dynamic movement, visual movement throughout these 9 quadrants. And so we'll discuss each one of these right now as to their relative successes and failures of doing that. So let's start with this composition here, this little still life. So my rule of thirds, and my thirds ratios are off. My rule of thirds are about right here, right here, right here, and right here. So let's check out this movement. Normally, the eye in as Westerners comes from the bottom up, generally the bottom left corner for some reason. This composition is moving through this, up and through here, and over. Now, the weakness of this composition is this quadrant right here. Not that it needs, maybe as a gradient, not that it needs a thing. I could put a gradient up here to hold that edge, to return the eye down, or this is my little bamboo plant here. Maybe I can put a leaf down like that, right? That turns the eye back down, catches the edge of this bottle, and then moves back down and in and through. And if I'm clever about it, I will move things back down and into this little skull area here. So this is okay. It would depend on how I treat these edges and borders around my composition. This one, this is an open composition. So what happens when you create an open composition is that you're pushing objects off the picture frame. Here's my rule of thirds right here. God, that was way off. Here, here, and here. So things that are working well here. Just a moment, I need to let my puppy dog out. Yeah. Little rascal. All right. So make sure we're back on here. Okay, so what's working with this is I've got this object luckily placed right along that thirds. I've got the eyeball here, which is a really important part of this composition down here. I've got this pushing over this. I've got an interesting negative shape off the edge right here, this edge. I can use those. What's not working well is this gaze of this is pushing out here, and I need something to help return the composition up and around. Now, again, I could, because I'm an artist and I have the ability to lie a little bit about what's happening in my still life, I could pretend that there is a long bamboo leaf that comes down here and picks that gaze up and returns it back into the composition up into here where I can get it to return, right? I could do that. I could pretend that there is the slight edge of a table back here. In addition to that, not so much that it runs off the composition, but that it helps pick this back up. Or I could put a gradient here to where it goes from a darker to a lighter to help return that. And that might be the best thing to do. But in any case, I need to return this movement up into here so that it can come back up and around. All right. So that would be the relative demerits of that one. This composition, this hybrid down here, is it's got some nice visual tension to it. Now, let's put in these thirds grid marks. Like that. And this movement comes up and over, and I am relying on the edge of this to move my composition. I'm relying on that picture frame to catch this and push it up and over and down. Luckily, along this third is where this skull ends. And so I can get wrapped up in here. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of creative work to make this all return and interesting in here. Right now it is not. And right here, this quadrant is a little bit problematic because I've got the gaze of this skull looking over here and there's nothing to return this back down. So if I'm going to make this composition work, I might need to, if I add a little bit of room over here, let's eliminate that. It's going to extend my thirds out, of course. I won't redraw those. But I can create a dark area here, a gradient that moves that back down and around. So what I would like for you to do is either work from some of the thumbnail sketches that you created in class and create a big composition, or set up your own still life, do some thumbnails and create a big composition. What I want to see this time is a well thought out composition that is either clearly open, clearly closed, or clearly a hybrid. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Of course, there's a million ways to do that. This is art, right? So that, and you can finish them out either in terms of tone or line using whatever media that you like from the supplies that you have. and finish that out, 18 by 24 inches, get it uploaded when you're all done. As a reminder, take good photographs of your work and upload good quality photographs. Get in that habit of representing yourself well digitally. Please don't turn them into me sideways or upside down. I have no way of turning them around as I'm grading. So it's really hard for me to grade even what appear to be really good drawings if they're presented to me in sort of a haphazard way. So take care with that. And last of all, and of course, have fun. Let me know if you need anything. Bye.